This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is Mike at I am Mike White on Twitter.
And this is the Obsessive... Wait.
Really?
I know.
So now he's going to mess it up 3 times.
All right. And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Right off the bat, and I need to put a censor deep in there. I was going to ask you a question, but I can't remember. First of all, welcome to the podcast, everyone. First and foremost, I want to tell you guys that if you're listening this week or before October 17th, and you're in the Indianapolis area or feel like taking a long drive, on October 17th at 6 p.m. in Irvington, we're going to be hosting Shocktober in Irvington. It's an event benefiting the Irvington community. If you're not familiar with it, it's a little suburb of Indianapolis. It's a really great community. And every year they do Halloween festivals and a bunch of Halloween events throughout the month of October. And we've reserved the Irving Theater to host a benefit for the community. And we're going to have costume contest, raffles, live podcasting, short films of short horror films, and a screening of Night of the Living Dead. And it's all coming together, and it's really exciting, and we really hope you guys can make it. It's going to be just an absolute blast. So check that out. Links in the show notes. You can go to Shocktober.Irvington.com, which just takes you to Obsessive Viewer, but just click the Shocktober in Irvington tab. Also, in regards to the Irvington area, check out IndianaGhostTours.org. It's their 12th year doing it. It's a purely for charity ghost tour of Irvington. Irvington is one of the most haunted areas in the state. And this guy, Al Hunter,
supposedly haunted. I'm sorry.
The stories, dude.
Yeah, the stories are amazing.
Yeah, but he takes guided tours every Friday and Saturday night throughout October, all around Irvington, telling all these stories that are just they're ghost stories steeped in history, and it's more like a history lesson wrapped around with a ghost story wrapped around it. It's really incredible, and it's really something that you need to experience if you're in the area. Again, that's IndianaGhostTours.org, and it's definitely awesome. Plus, you get a book, a copy of his book. This year's book is Bumps in the Night, and you get a free copy with your ticket. So check that out. So how's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
Good.
Nice.
Colts won big today.
Whoa. Oh, you know what?
Against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Do you know what else?
And the Seahawks stopped the payback. Right?
Yeah. Oh.
Shut up, Matt.
Payback. Yeah.
Go lay down.
Sit quietly, Matt.
The Mel Gibson movie? No.
And the Bears play tomorrow, so
They
I'm
do.
still waiting to find out.
At 8:30.
It's 7:30 Central. Yep.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice for you.
Yeah, it is. That's another one of those benefits because again, say the standard time for waking up as a teacher is 5:30. You have to wake up at 5:30 Central or Eastern time. But if you're on Central time, the games come on an hour early.
Exactly.
Sweet.
I'd said till
awesome.
midnight last week on Monday night when the Colts played.
Ugh.
Don't I know it?
After Sunday Night Football, I was up till midnight, just giddy about the win over the Niners. So, but this is not the Obsessive Football Podcast.
Right. Not
That's
yet.
that's coming soon. Yeah.
So it's weird because it's like you guys are kind of every season, or at least in the second season now, you guys are just kind of slowly trying to do that.
It's just a couple minutes.
It's a couple minutes, but
It's
anyway.
on television.
Yeah, it's on television.
Oh, I'm
That's
not.
right.
I'm not
It is
disputing
the
that
most
at
watched
all.
television show in the country.
Yes.
Sunday Night Football.
Clearly,
Every
you
week.
haven't seen America's Got Talent. Which
I didn't say it was the best. Not America's Got Talent. I'm saying it is the most watched show.
right. I did catch I had such a just a-hole response, just complete, complete, what's the word I'm looking for? Like just automatic response. When I just happened to skim past America's Got Talent on TV, and I saw that Nick Cannon is the host, and I was like, "What's Nick Cannon doing hosting a talent show?"
Jeez,
I was like, "That's so mean." I don't know where that came from.
Apparently, he's good at it. He kind of hosts a lot of things.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, he seems like a perfectly good host.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah,
he's kind of Ryan Seacresty.
Sure. Yeah.
No idea.
But you guys talked about your footballings. Something big happened today also that rivals all football.
Oh, yeah?
Today was Stephen King's 67th birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he gets, it
rivals football today. But tomorrow is Monday Night Football.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, he's getting older, and I'm getting farther from meeting him. And it's like my dream is to meet Stephen King in person.
I want to see that because you're going to just be so awkward.
Yeah. Oh, my. No, I'd cry. I would cry. I'm going to cry twice in my life. I will cry the day I meet Stephen King and the day Stephen King dies. I'm going to cry both of those days.
Those are the only 2 times you've cried? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
No, those are the two known times I'm going to cry in my life.
Those are the two guarantees.
Two guarantees.
Two guarantees. Gotcha.
But I won't say why. In the perfect Stephen King twist is I'm going to be the one that has to kill him.
Wow.
Anyway, so today...
So moving on. We've got important things to talk about. This is an awesome episode. I don't know about you guys, but I've been looking forward to this for a while. I look forward to this every year.
I've been looking forward to this for 11 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why is that? What are we talking about?
Today is our annual kickoff to our annual Shocktober series of episodes on the podcast. If you've been a long-time listener, you'll know that last year, for the month of October, we tailored the podcast toward the horror genre, and we called it Shocktober, which is just something me and Mike have done pretty much since we met. We met in freshman year of college, and we basically bonded over a shared interest of horror movies. And eventually that grew into, like, every October we would refer to it as Shocktober and try to see as many horror movies as we can and compare notes and all that stuff. So
the story goes, it was like a year once removed from us living together.
Right.
And I said, hey, we should make a list of all the movies we watch in October and then kind of compare them. So let's start writing down all the movies we watch. And you're like, I actually do that. I'm like, that's awesome.
Like, I've been doing that for a year, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. But we did, and we kept track, and I don't even think it's a competition. We definitely cheer each other on and kind of for discussion and exploration more than anything.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And it's just, and I think...
And because Matt is anal.
I'm very anal retentive.
But I love it. It's not. I don't have any interest. I have little interest in Christmas movies.
Oh yeah.
So in terms of this show, this podcast that we do, and talking about movies, this is bread and butter for me.
Oh yeah. Cool. And I have a vested interest in holiday movies. And Tiny, I know that you're into like Christmas movies, so it's fun because this is like my little holiday season. I get to talk about horror movies with Mike, and then Christmas movies with Tiny.
Yeah,
that's nice. That's also literally
I was thinking about the other day. The time people spend looking forward to October or looking forward to Halloween is longer than anybody looks forward to any other holiday. If you think about it, people talk about how they start the Christmas rush so early, but really, if you love Halloween, there are already internet memes about looking forward to Halloween on like September 1st.
Oh yeah.
And that's 2 whole months. Christmas doesn't get 2 whole months.
Christmas gets like 10 months.
Yeah, I guess.
They start putting up decorations in like July. In the stores and stuff, to buy.
I guess it's just
crazy. Yeah. We should start saying Shocktober instead of just saying yeah, so we call it Shocktober. We should be like Shocktober.
I'm not sure if the mic picked you up on that.
Well, in what context are we introducing Shocktober this week?
Okay, so this episode goes up as Mike pointed out in the pre-show, Mike and Tiny both pointed out before the actual month of October.
But it gives you a full week to prepare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's exactly 1 week before the beginning of October, and it's just, this is our intro to our Shocktober season.
Yeah, we're giving you a week to gather together some of the movies that we're going to talk about today, because we're talking about them in the context of what, Matt?
Essential Shocktober viewings. And it's just these are the movies that you, if you're new to Shocktober or you want to get more into the horror genre and figure, hey, Shocktober's a perfect time to do that, these are just essential viewings for you to dip your feet into the highly deep and murky water that is the horror genre.
I'll call it a wide river, but it's not very deep.
Right, it's plentiful.
And now some of these picks,
Plentiful.
some of these picks are pretty universal for like just about anybody, right? But some of them are personal as well. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make that point.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I am to preface this, we kind of came at it before we talked about the beginning of this episode. We kind of came at it from different perspectives. Matt said that the movies he's going to talk about are ones he's definitely going to watch.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of said, well, I definitely won't be able to watch any movies. And I also kind of didn't want to list the same old. You'll notice that I don't talk about Halloween, and that for me, in by Matt's definition of essential, is essential. We have kind of talked about the Halloween, the box set that's coming out on Tuesday.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I will surely watch that, but I highly recommend you watch Halloween, but I'm not going to be talking about it today.
Right. Yeah. So how should we kick this off? Who wants to go first? Should I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take it.
All right. Well, my first one is, I haven't had really any time to really research it or anything. Not that I really need to, but it's Scream. We've mentioned this oftentimes throughout the course of this. Throughout the course of this podcast, we've referenced this several times. That this is the movie that kind of got me into movies. Because it came out when I was in. When did we? It was like fourth grade.
Fourth grade, yep.
Fourth grade, and I remember watching a VHS copy that we got from Blockbuster, middle of the day with my parents, because my parents were really cool about that. Just in the living room, and like the scene where Dewey is talking to the sheriff, when he's eating ice cream, and they show the classic the classic Scream misdirect boot. Where he stomps out a cigarette and it shows the boot, and then later the killer is wearing the same kind of shoe. Or I think earlier he was wearing it. But anyway, at that scene, a neighbor knocked on the door and it freaked me out. So I kind of just have fond memories of that. But then after the initial viewing, I kind of watched it more and more, and then a year later they started getting news about Scream 2, and I was just like checking the Dimension Films website for new press news and everything about casting.
Nerd.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that was a good movie to experience on the internet level, because Scream 2 is infamous for having a leaked script come out. And it was to the extent where the script was leaked, and then they had to rewrite the ending because the script was leaked. And after watching Scream 2, I read that script, and man, I'm so glad he didn't do that. They didn't go with that. It was so.
What was the original ending?
I was just gonna ask you if you remember, Mike, or if you knew about it, but it was basically like a massacre, and at the end, it was like the killer ends up being Cotton, and Sydney agrees to let him go, or so. It was something weird, or Sydney dies, and. It was strange, but it was like everyone gets like shot and stabbed and stuff in the end, and it was weird. But anyway, so the original Scream is great, and the reason that I love it so much is that it was my first experience seeing, because I was in fourth grade and I wasn't really sure what kind of, like, I don't know, like fourth grade is a strange time for any kid, at least for me. I was kind of a late bloomer personality wise. Like, I didn't have, like, anything that I attached myself to. Like, that was, like, kind of at the at the end of my like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers stuff. Like I was growing out of those things, and I was kind of looking for new things to attach myself to liking and everything. And then I kind of watched this movie, and I'm like, all these characters love movies, and they love talking about movies, and they refer to their lives as movies, and they're very self-referential in terms of the rules of movies and stuff. And it's like I wanted that kind of knowledge, so that kind of springboarded me into this what eventually became obsessive viewing stuff. So that's my pick. I love it. It's not scary to me. I'm not scared by slasher movies.
But do you think a newbie would be afraid of it? If you were, let's say, I don't know, what's a good age to start Shocktober? Let's say you were 12. 12 is
grade.
like when you were like spending the night at your friend's house watching movies your parents don't want you to watch, right? Let's say 12. Would a 12-year-old find Scream scary?
You know, horror is just so subjective.
It is.
Even when I was 12 and I saw slasher stuff, it didn't scare me, and it still doesn't. So I don't know, maybe it's just... But when I saw alien stuff, it scared the crap out of me as a kid. So I don't know. It's just too subjective. I don't know if you can really make that distinction.
It's a very good question. And 12-year-olds these days, they're so desensitized. I imagine that. I mean, Scream.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, relative to movies like horror movies these days. I mean, like the Saw franchise was huge, and all that torture porn and all that stuff. By comparison, Scream is fairly tame.
It is.
You
can go on YouTube and watch the dude from ISIS cut that guy's head off.
That's true.
So I mean, there's that.
Right?
It's a comment on the desensitization of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But I think that it's worth seeing definitely as a piece of horror history.
Oh yeah. So you probably wouldn't be here without Scream.
I mean, I'd still be alive.
Well, you know what I mean. In this location right
saved
now.
his life.
It did. No, I know what you mean. It's I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I was just gonna say I'll go if you.
Okay. Yeah. I thought I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, that's Scream. And Mike, if you want to go next.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess this is kind of to give an answer to that cliffhanger I left in the last episode. If you listened, do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I talked about how my brother was wondering what some movies are that he should watch for Shocktober. I guess he was asking me, what are my essential Shocktober movies? And I kind of thought a lot about that question. And I thought, if I were to give someone a peek into my brain during Shocktober, what one movie would I say is best representative of my tastes, and which would give them the most entertainment value if they were a newbie to Shocktober? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So the movie I decided to pick, and you can insert a drum roll here if you want, and then like a slide whistle at the end.
Too much work.
Is Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Oh.
Nice.
I think it is an ultimate Shocktober essential, if you were to ask me. And I think there's a number of reasons why. It came out in 1984, which was kind of the height of slasher. It, of course, got horrible ratings, as did all the other ones. It was a marked improvement over the first three Friday the 13th movies. And it has Crispin Glover in it, which is hilarious. And it also has a young Corey Feldman right before Goonies came out. And so that was kind of his start. But all that stuff aside, what it represents to me is that slasher sensibility that I talked about a year ago. The things that scare me in movies are slashers. The things that interest me are people putting on masks and killing people. And I think all of the slashers today can kind of go back to, say, Halloween, which I promised I wouldn't talk about. But Friday the 13th is a clear ripoff of Halloween, right? Mm-hmm. So you can only expect that, we all want our children to be better than we were. I think Friday the 13th Part 4 actually it's not called Part 4, it's just called the final chapter, but the 4th installment does the best job of living up to what Halloween promised us for slasher movies.
Wow.
It's funny, it's campy. It has all the rules you would expect. If you get naked, you die. If you have sex, you die. If you do drugs, you die. It follows those rules. Those rules that Scream talks about, despite the constant references to Halloween, really weren't set until the Friday the 13th movies came out. John Carpenter never intended for those types of rules to be the case. They were just kind of happened to be the case due to budget or directorial decisions. So it wasn't until Friday the 13th that those kinds of things were set in stone. And Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is the best installment of the entire franchise. I guess not including Freddy vs. Jason. So as far as essentials, if I could watch it every year, I would. We did a horror movie marathon 2 years ago at our house, and it was a movie we showed first. And it got the best reaction out of both days. Like, it's the kind of movie you want to watch in a crowd where you can kind of laugh at the stupid things and jump. The girls jump at the things they're supposed to jump at. It's pretty perfect.
Nice.
That's awesome. I haven't seen that yet, and it's funny because I think are we still gonna end this episode with a list of our expectations or stuff our goals for the season?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll save that for later then. But that's a good pick. I haven't seen it yet, but I intend to see it at some point.
Same here.
But the thing with Friday the 13th though is I've seen the original maybe twice, and I'm not a big fan of it.
Well, that's because all you've seen is the original movie.
Exactly. I've seen the original, and I remember in like sixth grade, going back to what you were talking about, like as a 12-year-old seeing scary movies at your friend's house at sleepovers. I remember one sleepover with my friend Steven. We watched one of the Child's Play movies, the one with military school.
Oh yeah.
And we watched Jason Goes to Hell. And then those are the only Jason movies I've seen. Is the first one Jason Goes to Hell, and then Jason X, which is just, oh, what a horrible movie.
Yeah, see, you're getting the truly bad ones. People talk about the franchise as just being awful, and really, for the most part, it is. But there is a reason they lasted for 10, 11, 12 movies. Is because 4 is really good, 6 is pretty darn good, 3 is passable. They were popular for a reason.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll check it out. Definitely.
Tiny, have you seen the final chapter?
No. Never seen it.
Have you seen any of the Friday the 13th? You saw the remake, didn't you?
No.
No.
Did I? Friday? No.
No. Huh.
No. I've only seen the original. That's the only one I've ever seen, and I hate it.
Yeah, well, I did too.
Yeah.
It's, in fact, I saw it for the first time only a couple of years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I haven't watched it since.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's one of my, sorry to jump the gun, but it's one of my goals to watch that franchise this year.
Yeah?
Because I watched all of Halloween last year. I'd like to watch it.
Wasn't that your goal, Matt, last year?
Last year I wanted to do it, and then I was like, oh, that's like 12 movies. Yeah. But, Tiny, you, what's first on your list?
First on my list is a movie from the 80s as well, 1982's Poltergeist, which was directed by Tobe Hooper, who's been scaring the out of people since 1974.
Because I never heard of him.
Yeah. I love this movie. It has such a great Steven Spielberg feel to it, but he didn't direct it. It's kind of funny.
Wasn't he a producer on it?
He was a producer, yeah. And I think this was towards the beginning of his huge producing career, essentially. Because, that's kind of what he does more than anything now, is just produce stuff.
Right.
Excuse me. But this movie is just so, it's just a classic. It became an instant classic with the classic "they're here" line. I mean, it fits into so many perfect situations when you can just pull that out. And the kind of creepy little girl saying it.
I really want to teach my nephews to do that.
Do it.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Of course, there's all kinds of sort of mystery and I don't know about mystery, but like kind of a curse sort of surrounding the movie because the younger girl, Heather O'Rourke, who played the little girl who says the line and gets kidnapped into the other dimension, she died very soon after the movie came out. And then a few years later, I believe, the girl who played her older sister, I think she's Dominique Dunn, I believe that's her name. She was murdered by her boyfriend. So it's kind of sort of has this unfortunate shroud over the film, despite the fact that it's incredibly good. And Craig T. Nelson's career wasn't great throughout the rest of the 80s until he got Coach, I think. Anyways, man, this is just an awesome movie about, you have so many movies about the paranormal and just kind of a typical, like, oh, my house is haunted kind of thing. That's such a staple of haunting movies, but this one kind of is different because it takes the spirit that plagues this house kind of takes this child and it takes it into another dimension, and this child is gone for a majority of the movie. And it's really nerve-wracking. And like, I'm not even a parent or anything, but just when the paranormal investigative team comes to the house for the first time and you see the toll that it's taken on the family, Craig T. Nelson and his wife and the other kids, they just have these huge bags under their eyes and they look like zombies because they're being terrorized in their own home. It's just such an effective movie on that standpoint. And amazingly, this movie works in such effective humor. It's so funny. Just the casting of Zelda Rubinstein, who plays the tiny little Tangina lady, who's the I don't know what you would call her, a psychic of some kind. She just has I don't know. She just has one of those personalities. Just her physical appearance. It's just you can't take her eyes off her. She's awesome. The movie just hits so many marks. It's perfect for this. I think it's a good warm up to Shocktober because there are some scary things, very scary things about it. But then there's just perfect comedy riddled throughout it. It's I think it's a good warm up for the season.
Nice.
I'm going to jump the gun too and say that I haven't seen it and it is on my list for this year.
Oh,
I actually
really?
own it on DVD now.
Wow, awesome.
Oh man,
the iconic chair scene.
Yeah.
Incredible piece of filmmaking.
So much, yeah.
But yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah. I didn't know you hadn't seen it, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, you didn't say anything I didn't know.
Okay, good. It is fantastic. I'd be shocked if you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I've seen it maybe once, and I think it was with you, Tiny. I thought it was okay. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, but I need to revisit it.
Yeah. I have it on DVD and I watch it almost every Shocktober.
Nice.
Yeah. And just to say, I don't get into Shocktober as much as you guys. But I love everyone's enthusiasm for it.
Yeah.
I like it. I love it by proxy, sort of. I love seeing how into it everybody gets, and I totally get it. Like why people are so into it. So, cool. So I'm not quite as enthusiastic, but I like to listen to what you guys say. So, yeah. That is my first pick.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, so next up is me. I'm going to bring up a movie that surprisingly it's been like 5 years since I actually first saw it for the first time. Shamefully so, because it is an icon, but 1978's Dawn of the Dead.
Nice.
Okay.
I love zombies. We did a whole episode about zombies. And I think the best part about my first viewing of Dawn of the Dead, before I get into actually talking about the movie, is that I watched it on the night that The Walking Dead premiered, which was Halloween night of 2010.
10 sounds right.
Oh man, I remember that. You did a full.
Oh yeah.
You did a zombie day.
Full day.
Oh yeah, zombie day.
Yeah.
I basically, I took the night off from work. So like I went and I got like a pizza from Little Caesars, and I just sat down and ate some pizza, and like I I had it planned out. I watched this movie Carriers. I mean, it's not really a zombie movie; it's a post-apocalyptic movie. But 2010, Matt, was a simpler time. Then I watched Dead Snow, and Night of the Living Dead, and then Dawn of the Dead, and then Day of the Dead, and then the premiere of Walking Dead.
I feel like I would be a zombie after all of that.
Oh, it was such a weird experience for me. I mean, it drained me, and it was just because I love the zombie genre, and a lot of it is social commentary about, like Dawn of the Dead is about consumerism and stuff like that, and Day of the Dead is kind of like about authority and stuff like that. Night of the Dead has this whole kind of racial social context to it. So like going through all of that, I was just kind of like I had a lot to think about. But it was amazing. And I think the next year I did something similar. I think I stretched it out to like a week, but it wasn't as special as this time was. And Dawn of the Dead, it was the first time I'd ever seen that movie, and it did not disappoint. It's still to this day probably my favorite zombie movie ever.
Same. I think it's the quintessential zombie movie.
Absolutely.
For me, anyway.
What's that? Dawn of the Dead?
The original Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's
the one in the mall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I need to make sure I'll talk about that at the end of the episode. But yeah, it's just I don't know what else to really say about it. It's even some of the things like the effects of the blood, it doesn't look like blood at all. It looks like paint, but it still gets under your skin, and it's amazing to just see these people in this survival situation, problem solving, and then doing the wrong thing and all that. It's just really cool, and I love it. I can't wait to watch it again.
It feels like the movie didn't try to cut any corners. It felt like they were like, you know what, this needs to be as best as we can possibly make it.
Right.
And so they just went, I mean, yeah, the blood looked bad, sort of, but that was one of the few exceptions, I think.
Right.
Good movie.
Yeah. So that's my pick. Anything else about it?
How do you feel about Zack Snyder's remake?
I love it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Ty Burrell is fantastic in it.
Yeah.
That's about the only Zack Snyder movie I can appreciate.
That's right, it is Snyder, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't James Gunn write it?
He wrote it, yeah.
But and Zack Snyder directed it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's really good.
It has some, I think James Gunn has, you can officially say with Guardians, he has like a signature comedy style.
Oh, yeah.
You can really pick it out now.
Oh, yeah. And I hope that, in small tangent, but I hope that Guardians makes people seek out Super, because that movie's it's really super.
Oh, I hated it.
I thought it was
Really?
We talked about it, didn't we? Yeah, I hated it.
Did we?
I think in passing we brought it up at one point.
Yeah, really?
I thought it was okay. I wasn't crazy about it. Yeah.
I like the humor in it, and I liked Ellen Page's arc.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah. I'll see it again, but it's good. I like it. I recommend it. I don't know what these assholes are thinking.
Yeah.
Just
Not
kidding.
good.
Mike, what's next on your list, buddy?
The next on my list is probably an obvious one. I think we've mentioned it on the podcast before, but I can't go without mentioning Trick or Treat.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a great movie. It's barely scary at all. And I think I would even take a step back if I were to say, to introduce to a noob, if it's someone looking for a movie that will get them in a Halloween or Shocktober mood, Trick or Treat is the best one. One of the taglines, one of the blurbs on the box says, the best Halloween movie in 30 years. Of course, referencing the movie that came out 30 years before it, the original Halloween. There's 3 Halloween references, if you've been keeping score. And Trick or Treat is just awesome. I mean, I don't know what else to say that we haven't said on the podcast. It's 4 interwoven stories that really are similar to like The Shining in that they're all about tone. I mean, they are plot driven, which The Shining is not. But Trick or Treat is just awesome, quintessential.
Yeah. I would say off the top of my head, if I were to give someone 3 movies, not necessarily to scare them, but if someone was like, I want to get in the Halloween spirit, I would give them 3 movies, and it would be Trick or Treat, Halloween, and actually The Exorcist.
Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus, yeah.
I have a friend who Hocus Pocus is the one.
Oh, wow.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Trick or Treat. I would almost say it's good for. I think it'd be perfect for like the scenario that you described, Mike, where you're 12 years old, you're staying over at your friend's house for the first time, because it's not ridiculously gory and sexualized. I mean, there's a lot of blood. There's some fair deal of blood in it and stuff, but like I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it would be, scar a 12-year-old kid. That's what, I don't know. And plus,
there is, however, I agree with you. There is, however, with this movie, a specific few years where I can see someone from the ages of like 14 to 19, maybe 13 to 19, hating this movie and just being too cool for this movie. Right?
I can kind of see that.
Not old enough to appreciate it, and not young enough to be scared or impressed by it.
Yeah.
That's what
were you going to say?
I wonder if it's like, if it's just a part of like, and maybe this is what you're getting at, Mike. It's just we're in our 20s, late 20s. Even, oh my God, we're in our late 20s.
Yeah, we're on the wrong side of 25.
Yeah. So, and we're so far removed from our childhood spent in the Halloween like holiday, like doing the fun kid stuff, that when a movie like Trick or Treat comes out, it makes us reconnect with our nostalgic view of Halloween, as opposed to, oh, I love these horror movies, or it's about the holiday and the spirit of the holiday, and that's something that's
it's not an exceptional horror movie,
right? Yeah. Better than Jason X.
Damned if it doesn't put you in the mood.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all about the spirit.
Oh yeah, I might kick off Shocktober with that. I actually know, because I'm watching Nightmare on Elm Street. Wow. So yeah, Trick or Treat. I love it.
Cool.
Did you at Horror Hound, Mike? Did you get Quinn Lord's autograph?
I didn't get his autograph.
I didn't think so.
I felt a little weird about it. He was there, but he was really, really young. I think the kid's like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And it just, maybe I should have talked to him. Maybe I should have said, hey, but I just felt a little weird being a fanboy for a 15-year-old kid.
That makes sense. And plus I thought, you don't really, he's not, someone you really see or anything. It's more, I'm a fan of Sam, right? That's the name?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so Tiny, that brings us to you.
Yes. Second on my list is a film I've mentioned several times as one of my favorite films that fits into this category. It is the movie Saw. And I remember seeing, this is one of the, of the movies I'm going to mention, this is the only one I've seen in the theater.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
I haven't seen a lot of horror movies in the theater, but this is one of them. And I remember dragging my girlfriend at the time to see it, and she hated horror movies, and she was just like covering her eyes and just cowering away for a majority of the movie. And I just had no idea, because I was just so enthralled by the movie. I just didn't care what she was doing. And so I know this may not be a popular selection. What I appreciate.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, really?
I think it's awesome. I think it's perfect.
Really? Okay.
And I'll let you finish, but I've got a lot to say about this movie too, for sure.
I'm gonna let you finish.
What I love about the movie isn't necessarily its inherent horror or terrorness. I just love it as a filmmaking fan. I think it's such a well-made movie, but it's not necessarily like, oh, it should have gotten nominated for Oscars because it's made so well. It's more like, it's just cool the way he made it and the way he captured the tone, the terror, and just the opening part where, Lee Wannell wakes up in the bathtub, and from there you're just in this enclosed space for like 10 or 15 minutes, and it's such a confining feel to that part of the movie. I was like, I have no idea how they captured that, and it was just so effective for me. That I don't know, maybe it's part of my minor claustrophobia that I have. But it was just so effective for me. I was like, all right, I am hooked on this movie. I can't wait to see what happens. And then I think what's even better about it is, if you haven't seen it, this is a spoiler, but just the surprise ending at the end where there's a corpse laying in the middle of this room for the entire film. And at the end,
which I think is the music to Live and Let Die. It has very similar. Listen to the Saw theme and then Live and Let Die from Wings. I think.
Whoa!
With a couple notes taken out.
Melody.
Huh. Dang.
I never made that connection.
You may just ruin it for me.
Live and Let Die is awesome, though.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, when the corpse stands up and he slams the door and says "Game over," and Lee Wannell's scream just echoes into the credits. That I had goosebumps in the theater, and I was like, "This is my horror movie right here." So that's why it's a very personal pick for me, because typically I'm not a big fan of slashers and ultra gory stuff, but this one just hit the right marks for me.
Nice. Mike, do you mind if I go first real quick, because I have very brief stuff to say. Sorry.
That's okay.
No, but I love this movie as a just piece of storytelling, the way that everything's woven together at the end and everything. And I love that, and I love the music that I'm gonna have to re-listen to now, with Live and Let Die. And then, but the one thing that kind of bugs me about it whenever I see it again is Lee Wannell. His acting is so
awesome.
No, the reverse.
Now you can say that while he's standing next to Carrie Elways, who is trying his darndest to act. Carrie Elways
Adam is my favorite part of the movie.
Really?
Well, one of them.
His just some of the lines the way that it's weird. It's like when I don't know how to vocalize it. Like,
this is the most fun I've ever had without lubricant.
When those little quips and stuff, those are fine. But like when he's yelling, it's like he's like, "Oh, this is how I'm supposed to yell in this scene." It's weird, and I don't know. It bothered me a lot. Mike,
Downer Matt,
go ahead.
I think Saw is a perfect pick, Tiny. I think it's very essential.
Great.
I consider myself a student of horror, and if I could major in it, I would. But I don't know that there's such a thing offered anywhere close. And so one of the main theses that I've kind of been studying lately is how the horror genre always is really a series of reactions, right? Everything is a everything horror, at least for the last 30 to 40 years, is a reaction to what came before it. And I think you can go even further back than that. What's so awesome about Saw is Saw was, of course, the start of the torture porn genre. And everybody says, and I know and I agree, that it's not even that really torturous or that porny. But it kicked off a load of sequels that were. There's no doubt about that. And so movies today like Insidious 2, The Conjuring is like that harken back to kind of the way it was before. Subtlety and tone and those kinds of things, I think, are a very stark contrast to and reaction to the torture porn genre of the early 2000s. And so I think if you want to get into Shocktober, if you want to start somewhere, and if you're going to end with movies today, the Annabelle's coming out, The Conjuring 2 is down the pipeline. If you want to end there, you could start with Saw. Lee Wannell, of course, is directing the third one, or the third Insidious, right?
Yeah, good analysis. Yeah,
totally.
I think maybe part of the reason why I thought it was initially I said it was kind of stigmatized and maybe might not be a popular choice is because it did launch the torture porn fad, and which I don't like at all. I think the sequels were far more gory and torture porny than the first one was, and I just don't care for them. So maybe that's why I made that statement. Yeah. Cool.
Good pick.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mike, what do you?
Maddie,
is it your turn or mine?
Right.
Oh, it's my turn. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Maddie.
Tiny mentioned that he's only seen Saw in the theater.
Correct.
And it's funny because I've seen, out of my list of 5 plus a TV show. I've only seen 2 in the theater, and this is one of them. Although I should say that there's a third one that I'm going to see in the theater this Shocktober, which I'm really excited about. But anyway, this one is 28 Days Later.
Nice.
I've said this many times before that I am just a huge Danny Boyle fanboy, a fanboyle, if you will. And this movie is just so great. I love it whenever Boyle collaborates with
Gosh, I can't think of his name. Alexander
Hamilton. No. Oh man, what is his name?
Can't think of it.
Oh, Alex Garland. That's his name. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so anytime he teams up with Alex Garland, it's always really good. They did Sunshine together, which is one of my favorite movies. But 28 Days Later is just really, I love the style of it. It's like handheld, like very dirty filmmaking. And it's very low budget, and that's something I can appreciate, especially in the horror genre, is low budget filmmaking that's clearly a passion project even. Like there's stories about how to get the shots of London deserted, they would film like for very short amount of times every morning, and they would hold off like traffic and stuff by having topless girls standing at the edge of the frame, and it's stuff like that. It's just so cool because I love hearing stories about that on the other side of the filmmaking process. And the story's really good. It's a reinvention of sorts of the zombie subgenre, and it works. It plays on all the tropes. It has a bit of a the third act is a little, wow, what's the word I'm looking for? Wow, a bit of a polarizing third act.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it. I think it's really great as a social commentary on what would happen to people in society when there is no society. Stuff like common tropes of the genre itself. And it's just a damn good movie. And also the score is just out of this world amazing.
Mm-hmm.
John Murphy did the music for it, and I mean it's incredible. Like the climax of the movie where Jim, played by Cillian Murphy, is saving the girls in the house. There is a track that is featured in that scene called "In the House." Or it might be called "A Heartbeat in the House," but it's so great. Just the way I love listening to it, and it really complements the action on screen really well. And I don't really get that a lot in movies. So yeah, I love it.
It's a fantastic movie.
I quickly fell in love and quickly out of love with that movie.
Yeah.
And I think I've said this before, but I could go into more detail if you want. I've seen it maybe 4 times. The first time I saw it, I think, was 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was awesome. I thought it was as awesome as you said it was.
Right.
And then I watched it again, and I was like, wait a second. I thought I loved this movie. And the third time I watched it, I was like, yeah, I definitely don't love this movie. And there's something about it that just doesn't work for me. I wish I could give you more details about why they don't work. But a lot of it, I think, is I have trouble getting past the independentness of it. You know, it's very gritty. It's very I don't know. I just don't like it.
Interesting.
To each their own.
Yeah, I had an interesting experience with the movie as well because in classic Matt fashion, he built it up a ton for me. I had never seen it.
Well, imagine that.
Yeah.
The best movie you'll ever see in your entire life.
Yep.
Geely.
So he built it up so much for me, and I really wasn't expecting a whole lot. Not a big horror fan and stuff like that. And the first time I watched it, I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, didn't really think much of it. And like a year later, I watched it again, and I was like, what was I thinking? Because it really blew me away. I I don't think anybody loves the movie as much as Matt does.
Right.
But
No,
I'm pretty.
He is
close.
the biggest fan for sure.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty close though, because I love it. I think I've probably seen it about probably 8 or 10 times. Yeah, and I think you both mentioned the grittiness of it and the independentness of it. I think that is absolutely present, and it takes a majority of the palette of the film. But I think it has a certain sheen to it, like almost like a little layer of gloss on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After you put on 20 coats of grit, you got a little gloss over it or something like that, and it really makes it cinematic.
Yeah.
It makes it a movie, as opposed to looking like people just showed up with the camera. Not that I have any issue with that. It's just the aesthetic they were going for is pretty unique in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love the story too. The polarizing third act, like Matt mentioned. I think a different third act would have made it tonally such a different movie, because I just love the commentary, the social commentary. It's just cool.
Yeah. The couple things. One is the atmosphere and the aesthetic of the independentness of it, the shaky cam or the handheld camera, digital camera thing. I don't know if I want to say this because I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it might be one of the first movies that did use a specific digital camera recording,
really,
as opposed to film.
Danny Boyle's real big on technology.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And what's neat about it is that and it's purely for the atmosphere and budget reasons, most likely. But there's a switch in the movie at the end for the last sequence. The last scene of the movie is where it switches to 35 millimeter. You can tell there's a stark difference. So it really helps establish the atmosphere, and really is a good utilization of the visual medium that is film.
It's those small little details throughout that add up by the end, and you're like, "Wow, that's great." And that's kind of a trope, if you will, of Danny Boyle. I think we saw it again in this is a bit of a tangent on Danny Boyle. We saw it again in Slumdog Millionaire, because that was similar in that it had a very indie feel to it. Mm-hmm. It was gritty because you're in the slums of what was that? Was that in New Delhi? I forget where they filmed that.
I can't remember.
You're in slums that are awful, but it has that little gloss to it, and I think we get that handheldness of it. It's excuse me. It's an aesthetic that he's kind of perfected. I think he shot all or most of that movie on the Red camera, which is incredibly versatile because it's very small, but you can still get huge angles with it, and you can carry it down these narrow corridors of these slums. So that's something that he's kind of perfected, I think. A little niche he's carved out for himself. So.
Oh yeah, and we talked about the polarizing third act. It's funny, much like Scream 2, the third act there's an alternate third act that it was storyboarded this way, but they didn't film it. But I would have hated the movie if they went with it, honestly. Basically, the end of the movie would have been, instead of finding what they find in the movie, they find a scientist who one of them gets Brendan Gleeson's character turns, and they knock him out, and the scientist basically tells them like, oh yeah, I can save him, but it just requires a complete blood transfusion. So they take all of the blood out of Brendan Gleeson and switch it with all of the blood in Cillian Murphy in the two switch places, and at the end of the movie is Cillian Murphy becoming infected and Brendan Gleeson being okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
too science fiction-y for that movie.
Yeah. How that reached the point of being storyboarded is out of this. I can't understand.
It's gotta be studio note. A studio producer thing, probably.
Maybe. I'll have to research it, because I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
Okay. Maybe. That's a possibility, but yeah.
Anyway,
who's next?
Mike's up.
I believe that's me.
Michael, what do you got for us, bud?
All horror is derivative, and there are a lot of movies like the Blair Witch Project, which was incredibly fresh when it first came out. 1,000 years ago.
That's what it feels like.
Doesn't it seem like that?
It really does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I actually was not one of the people one of the millions of people who saw it in 1999. I did not see it until I want to say like 3 years ago, and it blew me away.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I was just thrilled by it. I can see why the found footage genre took off the way it did, and it's because of this movie, and probably because of a movie that Matt is going to talk about later. But I think this is the best one, and I would argue, Matt, that it's better than the one you're going to talk about. It plays even more with that which we can't see. It plays more with that which we can't see than any other found footage I can think of. It did more with so little than any horror movie at all I can think of in general. And that alone, I think, is pretty awesome. Why is this an essential? Again, because I talk about how horror is so derivative, and this is kind of the starting point for so many movies after. There's no gore in this movie, so I think that's a pretty good start. It's just definitely a kind of a chilling type of movie that's not going to make you feel gross watching it.
Yeah.
When they find his tongue, that creeped me out a bit.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
But that's the one thing. I love. I almost said the title of my movie. I love Blair Witch Project. I'm at a loss here. No, I saw this in the theater actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I was so wrapped up in all of the marketing of it, which no matter what happens to my feelings about this movie upon reviewing it, there is no mistaking that this movie was a brilliant piece of guerrilla filmmaking and marketing.
Oh yeah.
Because this just what they accomplished on the marketing level is unbelievable, like and unrepeatable as well. People were so wrapped up in it. I remember seeing like a documentary, a little half-hour documentary thing on MTV or something about it, and I was duped. I was like, oh my god, they found these tapes. Oh my god, okay.
Yeah, Blair Witch did it first, and they could never do that lie again.
Exactly. Oh yeah, and it was right at the perfect time where the internet wasn't huge yet. It wasn't the internet. It wasn't a household.
There was
thing.
no Reddit.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It wasn't in our pockets yet.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Perfect. And people just were so wrapped up in it in the marketing campaign. The movie itself, I've watched it recently over the past couple years, and I kind of fall a little bit out of love with it every time I see it. I think the characters are really annoying.
I know, but I think they're so spot on.
They are in terms of being like the douchey, college douchebag filmmakers.
They are better 90s characters than the characters in Scream, and that's a quintessential 90s movie.
That's true. But I mean, the characters in Scream they're not really.
They're polished characters.
Yeah, they're not.
Sure.
Yeah, but these it's hard to root for them to get out of the woods when they're screaming their heads off about this f***ing map. And it's like, when what's his name? Is it Michael? Mike?
Yeah.
When he's laughing, like, I kicked the map in the river. Like, I understand. Yes. It's the gravity of the situation is that, and it makes sense for him to do that, but it's just like, I don't know. Something about it just doesn't really sit right with me on the character level. I love the lore of it. And I love there's theories that, I don't even know if this is really a theory or not, but, that them being trapped in the woods is like they've time traveled to where something weird is going on with time. So when they walk for a full day, that's why they come back to the part where they started at, and all that. But anyway, the last shot of this movie, just the thought of it sends a chill down my spine. Just the image of it is so haunting and freaks me out. And I love it. I love that part of it. The characters are just kind of annoying.
Yeah. The movie isn't, in my opinion, it's not conducive to multiple viewings. So that's probably why you fall less and less in love with it every time you watch it. Or fall out of love with it more and more.
Right.
I haven't seen it in so many years. I am failing to remember a lot of it, so I may need to make it part of my Shocktober this year.
It's on Netflix Instant now.
Is it? Yeah. Nice. I liked it when I was a kid, and when it came out, I was like, wow, that was scary as hell.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I just imagine you saying like, yeah, that was scary as hell. Sorry for saying hell, Mom. So dumb. Don't laugh at that. Whose turn is it?
It is mine.
Go nuts, Tiny.
Yes. Next up on my list is a movie that has found its way into my top 20 favorite of all time.
Oh, wow.
And I had never seen it. Well, I had seen it as a kid when I was like 8. I'd seen a majority of it, and had never seen it again until like 3 years ago. This is 1980s. I think it's 1980. The Thing.
80.
Yeah, The Thing by John Carpenter. There are 3 versions of The Thing. There's one from like the 50s. Then there's John
Thing from Another World.
There you go. Then there's John Carpenter's, and then there was the terrible remake from like 2000.
Here's another Halloween reference. The Thing is playing in the background.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. It is.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot about that. Yeah. This movie's just so freaking awesome. I watched it basically for the first time like 3 years ago, and I think I've seen it 6 times. So that should indicate it for you. Yeah, I bought it on DVD, and then like last year I bought it on Blu-ray, so I have it on both. And I think what makes it so great, it's not just one thing, but for me, it's just the development of the characters and how they're so just suspicious of one another. You have this suspicion or like this conspiracy that plays throughout the movie, and it's intricate. It's so intricate that you wouldn't expect it to be in a horror movie like this. This kind of basically just like a monster movie, essentially. You just wouldn't expect to see it in there. And it's just so brilliantly woven together that by the end, you just don't even know what's going on. And even the filmmaker, the screenwriter, and the actors admit they don't know what's going on by the end of the movie. I think that is a unique skill it's not something that happens a lot in movies. And I think that's why people love it too. And then of course you have just absolutely phenomenal, I want to say CGI because we're so used to now, but like
practical effects,
practical effects, special effects, that hold up ridiculously well considering the movie's over 30 years old now. I remember seeing it as a kid and I was like, so this guy's head fell off and then it sprouted legs and started walking. Man. And then they set it on fire. I mean, what 10-year-old kid isn't a pyro? And so I was like, they're carrying flamethrowers around. I was born in January, and so I love winter weather. I love snow. I love it when it's freezing cold. And the movie's set in Antarctica. So it's just so many things about it for me to personally love. I can't believe I didn't find it earlier than my mid-20s. It's a phenomenal movie. I love it. This is the kind of movie that I wish Russell Crowe would do. Or not Russell Crowe, Kurt Russell. I wish Kurt Russell would do only movies like this. He's just awesome.
I wish Russell Crowe would do movies like this.
Yeah, that'd be good. So
we're kind of doing, in a weird way, we're kind of listing like quintessential sub-genres.
Yeah, we are.
Like, where do you start? Where do you start if you want to see the best that creature features have to offer? And I think The Thing is it. If you ask me.
And then,
that might upset a lot of people who love King Kong or who love,
right,
Alien.
The old Universal monsters.
Yeah, any of those really, but The Thing just for me stands above. And I guess it's because I love John Carpenter the way I do, but
yeah,
The Thing is brilliant.
Yeah, he's become one of my favorite filmmakers. He was just so off my radar for most of my movie buff fandom. I don't know why. He should have been towards the top because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Don't watch that movie with Amber Heard in the asylum. I already did. So bad.
What's that called?
Is it called The Asylum?
No, maybe.
I don't remember what that one was.
I don't remember.
The Ward.
The Ward.
Man.
Oh.
And it was hailed as like his return to horror, and it was just...
The actresses were really hot.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not enough.
Yeah, it's the only upside of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
The Thing is just a remarkable movie.
Nice. I haven't seen it since the first or second time. I think I'm actually going to ask to borrow either your DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah.
This,
Did you guys see the remake, Will?
I did not. I'm excited to. I'm going to see it this time too. And I don't want to commit to it, but I kind of want to see if I can watch all three versions and do an adaptations and remakes. But Shocktober on the blog is going to be a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the remake and it was so bad. I just didn't.
Really?
I don't remember.
Oh, really? I didn't think it was so bad.
The Thing?
Yeah. I kind of liked it a little.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
It just completely dropped the aesthetic of the monster. Like the monster just sucked.
Yeah.
Compared.
CGI?
Yeah. I really hated it. And the characters were just like nothing. Just didn't care at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yep.
That sucks. So, should I go next?
Please.
Do it.
Okay, so this is the other movie that on my list that I saw in the theater. It's the one that Mike was referring to about found footage movies and stuff. Paranormal Activity. And Mike, I can't remember exactly what you said, like 10 minutes ago, but
Just about what?
about how you think Blair Witch is better than Paranormal Activity.
Oh, yeah. I do.
I disagree. Paranormal Activity is so... I love it more as a piece of just escalating tension. And I've said this probably on one of last year's Shocktober episodes, but as a piece of escalating tension, it's so great in its depiction of how everything just eases into or slowly rises and slowly builds toward the big climactic final night on film. And it's so terrifying to me, even still, the way that it all unfolds. And it's what I also love most about, love even more about than that, stumbling over all my words, is that as the tension is rising, you can see the destruction of their relationship unfold, and as they get more tense in their relationship, the tension escalates and it reaches a point where it gripped me throughout the entire runtime, and that's something that I never really got from Blair Witch when watching it in years past. I just thought with Blair Witch is like, yeah, this is really cool that it's really creepy. They're in the woods and stuff, but I mean, like I said, I couldn't really connect to the characters the way that I could connect with Katie and Micah. Mika, that's right, because it's weird how Mika is usually the girl, female version of the name, right?
No, it's Mike.
No? Is it? No.
It's a Slavic Mike.
I mean, Mika or Micah.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
I mean, I've known girl Micah's.
Have you really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, it's I love it, and I've fallen out of love with the franchise as a whole because, my God, but
because they're terrible.
They are.
They're so terrible.
Yeah, I mean, like the second one was okay. The third one was just off the rails, terrible. More so, and this is a common thing with.
If the third one was off the rails terrible, the fourth one was worse than that.
I didn't even see the fourth one. Well, yeah, I did. Oh, crap, I forgot there's 5 of them.
I sent you that big rant.
Oh, yeah, and we talked about it last year on the podcast, but man, yeah, the fourth one was off the rails. Third one was unforgivable in its retconning, which that's something else that I don't know if we want to make a full episode out of it or anything, but it's common in the horror genre for franchises not to have good continuity, And I don't know if we'd want to make a full episode out of fixing the continuity of franchises. I know.
Sounds like a lot of work.
We haven't the time.
Would be fun. Yeah, if we maybe next year for next year's Shocktober episodes. But this is a franchise that it's just not good with its progression of the mythology, and we have this really great, to me, first movie, and like with the fourth movie, they just screwed it over. Like they had the prime opportunity to make it about a relationship in the dumps or a relationship piece in regards to that with the kid's parents, because there's hints that they're having marital problems, and then it's all about the kid and her goofy friend that wants to bang her. And it could have been so much better if it was focused on the parents and how their lack of communication and while they're having these marital issues is what's causing the demon to be able to infiltrate their lives more. So yeah, and plus product placement. God.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just announced Paranormal Activity 5 for March. It's going to be called
Weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So dumb.
It is, and the marked ones came out in like January.
It's so dumb.
It is. But I'm kind of not excited, but I get the feeling, judging solely from the title of the new one, that they could potentially just go into just complete ridiculous Jason X style stuff, where it's just completely off the rails and or whatever, because it's called Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension. So yeah.
Wow.
So March, everyone.
Look forward to that.
Yeah. But yeah, the first one still holds true. I love it so much, for the reasons I stated. And, I do feel really gypped also because, Oren Peli, he said in all the interviews and stuff that like, oh yeah, the DVD is going to have plenty of special features explaining how we did all these effects and everything, because it's a very low budget movie and all that, and nothing. There's nothing on the DVD. Which bugged me. But other than that, it's a great movie.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Do you love it that much, Tiny, as much as he does?
No, but I like it a lot. I think it's really scary.
I guess I need to see it again with fresh eyes. I appreciated it the first time I saw it. I think I've told the story before that my roommate didn't sleep that night, and he came in to ask me the next day if I got any sleep, and I was like, yeah, why?
Yeah.
And then just any time I've seen it since that first time, it does not do well on repeat viewings, and maybe because I've only seen the Blair Witch twice, it hasn't been soiled enough in my mind.
Right.
But I can't even watch Paranormal Activity anymore.
Wow.
It's not my kind of scary.
Right, exactly.
And we've talked about that last year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Teach their own.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So who's up? Is it me?
Yes.
Oh, yep. Okay.
I thought it was Mike, or is it you?
No, why
I've
do you
lost-
keep doing that?
I don't know.
Wait, you just went. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
me.
it is you, because it was Blair Witch.
Yeah, I did the thing. And then, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, my last one then is, I guess, my newest quintessential one. I saw this movie in the theaters. I guess even more of a preface. I see a movie every Thursday night. I've said this 100 times on the podcast before. This, I think, is still my favorite movie experience in the last 4 years or so.
Nice.
And it's Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
I could not have been more thrilled with this movie. And I think a lot of people like this movie. And the people that don't, I guess, are thrown by the ending, which really bums me out because I think the ending is hilarious. I remember going into the movie knowing that whatever you think is the case is not really the case. And so that kind of, I was waiting for something even bigger than what actually happened, but it was still pretty amazing. And I just laughed out loud, and I was just like giggling giddily after the movie was over. It was just so great. It's just such a great movie. I might have talked about this before, but I don't know. You mentioned Scream. some of my favorite movies in the horror genre kind of satirize the horror genre. Mm-hmm. A lot of movies kind of attempt to do that. None of us, funny enough, are going to talk about Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which I think is a great one. Mm-hmm. But Cabin in the Woods, I think, is one of the best, or at least it's the second most recent. Your Next kind of did it last year, but Cabin in the Woods is brilliant.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
Tiny, what's next on yours?
Next on mine...
Rapid fire?
Yes, this will be brief, but next on mine is The Sixth Sense from M. Night Shyamalan. A pretty popular movie. Won a couple Oscars, deservedly so, in my opinion. Just a brilliant... And, I hate to say it, given where we are now, but I think the script is just brilliant. It's just paced perfectly, and there's all these little notes and little tiny lines that throw in tiny details throughout the movie. And once you look at it all from the big picture, you're like, wow, this is just, it's amazing how well it's tied together. I think it's just a highly effective movie. I thought it was really scary. One of the best child performances ever, in my opinion. Toni Collette's always great. Bruce Willis is always great. So I just thought it was scary, and it was kind of heartwarming at the same time. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It was highly dramatic and popular movie, like a popular drama kind of movie, but it also happened to be really scary, which is kind of unique. You don't get that very often. So I think it's a great movie.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It was nominated for 6 Oscars.
6? Wow.
Yeah, it didn't win any of them.
Oh, really? I thought it won a couple.
Nope. But it was nominated for Best Picture.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I just kind of
it's a far cry from The Happening, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, but I love it. The scene with the ghost under the bed puking.
Yeah.
Played by
a young Misha Barton.
Young Misha Barton. I've never been a fan of, but anyway, that was just cool. The movie as a whole is really good. Although, how did he get on the bus without?
There's a lot of problems.
There's a lot of problems.
Say, how did he get in the house, and why is he waiting for Haley Joel Osment's character? How did he get in the house?
Right.
But there's, I think they covered some of that stuff up.
Yeah.
Kind of cheaply, but they do it by saying they only see what they want to see and those kinds of things.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really good. Good pick.
Yeah.
That leaves me with me.
Wait, so you get an extra one? You get a bonus one?
No, wait, yeah. Crap.
Just say it. I don't care.
Go ahead.
Okay. Briefly, and this could be more of a teaser if we end up doing this, Mike. The Shining.
Yeah.
I love it. We'll talk more about it in a later episode, I'm sure. But
yes.
I am excited because, and I'll use this as a springboard to promote this, even though we have nothing to do with it. But Keystone Art here in Indianapolis is doing the Midnight Madness screenings, and that's going to be one of them. So I'm absolutely just ecstatic to be able to see this on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
This masterpiece of filmmaking, and this is just awesome movie. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, cool.
So do we want to break down our plans for Shocktober real quick?
Yeah, real quick. Mike?
Yeah. Funny you start with me. This is going to be the least impressive. There are, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Thursdays in October, so I'll see 5 movies in theaters. One of them, I think, is going to be a horror movie. There's not a whole lot of good new horror movies coming out in October, which is kind of disappointing. Mm-hmm. My wife and I are going to show our horror movie marathon, for the second time, the sequel. I think we've got 8 movies planned, so I'll watch all of those, and I'll be lucky to get one more, given how much time I have.
Wow.
It's a shame. I plan on watching as many of the Halloween movies as I can, but that, to be honest, might bleed over into November, and that's fine with me. I remember I saw Halloween H2O for the first time on my birthday, which was November 13th. So that doesn't bother me too much. But other than that, I'd like to watch Poltergeist. And that's really it.
Okay.
Nice. Rom-com November.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tiny, what are you playing?
Wow. I am planning on going through the Friday the 13th franchise.
Nice.
All of them. I meant to do it last year. I watched the first one, like mid-October. I watched the first one and just remembered how much I hate that movie and just turned me off from watching the rest of them.
Will you start with the sequel?
I will start with the sequel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because it's kind of a goal to never watch that movie again. It's probably like the third time I've ever seen it, and I'm just like, why do I keep watching it? It sucks. So that'll be that.
And the second one, again, doesn't get much better, but hold out for 3.
Okay. Yeah. I'll definitely power through them. And then there's several franchises I need to make my way through. I've only, not this year, but maybe next year, the only Romero zombie movies I've seen are Night and Dawn. That's it.
Oh, wow.
Some other stuff.
Day
I have seen
worth
0.
Wow.
None of them?
0 of them.
Wow.
You're going to be in town for Shocktober in Irvington, right, Mike?
For our Shocktober?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So you'll also be seeing Night of the Living Dead.
That'll be the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And then I need to see the Elm Street movies, of which I saw the first one for the first time this year for our Gat Movies episode.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be some point in the future. But this year I'm going to focus on Friday the 13th.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. As for me, I've been getting into the habit because I've been meaning to write more for the blog, for obsessiveviewer.com. So I've gotten in the habit of, I think I actually got this idea from Pat from Nerds Are Looking For. And I've basically been scheduling, posts for when I would post blogs on the site. So basically on my Google Calendars app, I just put a date on and I put the title of the blog post on the date and all that. And it's just once the date passes, I'll have it written and posted on the site. Pretty simple. So I started doing that and then kind of got away from me because like now October has, if I'm not including Wednesdays, because Wednesdays I leave blank because that's when I hopefully get the podcast episodes up. But excluding Wednesdays, there are 4 blank spots in October. The rest are all filled with blog posts.
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
So I'm hoping to get through a franchise review of Nightmare on Elm Street, which I'm both excited and nervous about because I haven't seen Dream Warriors in a very long time, and I'm very excited for that. I am dreading watching Freddy's Revenge because that movie is just horrible.
Again, one of the worst movies I have ever seen.
Same here. And I'm going to love writing a review of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it really, honestly, that's really the only, Shocktober posts I have planned. I have those, and then I'm not confident I'll be able to do this, but, the Halloween Complete Collection Blu-ray, I would love to review it, but I don't know if I have enough time to go through all of the content. And also today I put a perspective, adaptations and remakes post for The Thing. So we'll see how that goes. But in terms of watching stuff, I'm just, Nightmare on Elm Street will be the priority. Aside from that, the standard Trick or Treat, as much of the Halloween movies as I can in the box set. And really, just the ones that I've talked about. Yeah. And it's going to be kind of a good, relaxing Shocktober for me in terms of watching movies. But there are the Midnight Madness movies at Keystone Art that I want to see. Like there's The Shining, Alien, that's going to be a must see. There's one more that I really wanted to see, but I can't remember. No, actually, those are the only 2 I'm really committed to seeing. But anyway, those are my plans. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, The Flash is premiering in October, and I mentioned in an earlier episode that I might do episode reviews, but I don't think I'll be able to do that. So yeah, is that about it? Does that do it?
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Put an orange and black bow on it.
Oh, because of Shocktober.
Yeah.
Or an orange and navy one for the Bears.
No, don't do that.
Or an orange and black one for orange is the new black.
Ooh, gosh. All right, moving on.
Moving on. Sorry. And moving on. As always, thank you for listening to the Obsessive Viewer Podcast, and thank you to Loud Like for providing our awesome opening theme music. Their first EP is called Mistakes We Must Make and features our theme song and a clips of events. You can check that out on iTunes and rate and review them and tell them that you heard of them from us. Crap. Also, while you're on iTunes, rate and review us. We love hearing what you think, and it really goes a long way. And also, please like our Facebook page at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer and follow each of us on Twitter. I'm Matt at Obsessive Viewer, Tiny is at Obsessive Tiny, and Mike is at I am Mike White. And while you're on Facebook, find the event page for Shocktober in Irvington and go check it out. And please come to Shocktober in Irvington, which, as we talked about at the beginning of the episode, it's an event that we're hosting in Irvington here in Indianapolis, where we're going to be having a costume contest, raffle, podcasting, short films, and screening of Night of the Living Dead. It's going to be a blast, and all the proceeds are going to benefit Irvington, which is a really awesome community in Indianapolis. You can also check out the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, where, as I mentioned in this episode, I'm going to be doing a franchise review of Nightmare on Elm Street, and if you're a Boardwalk Empire fan, I'm also doing episode reviews of each episode of its final season. Also, check out our sister site, Obsessive Book Nerd, for book reviews and commentary on the evolving world of reading. And check out Tiny's side project, The Secular Perspective, at thesecularperspective.com. It's a podcast devoted to the thoughtful debate and discussion of religion and secularism and how they intersect and intertwine in the world today. You can check that out on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, all that stuff, and also follow that on Twitter. Just follow Obsessive Tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and finally, if you have any thoughts on the podcast or suggestions for future topics or anything, if you want to share your essential Shocktober viewings with us, you can email us at matt@obsessiveviewer.com, tiny@obsessiveviewer.com, mike@obsessiveviewer.com, or podcast@obsessiveviewer.com. Yeah, I think that about does it.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, I'm getting off here, dudes.
All righty, have fun getting off.
Are you guys going to do the Shining debate?
I really want to.
I think so. When do you want to schedule that?
I was going to say, maybe something we could do for it. You guys could each think up questions for each other or for whatever, and then I can read them as the moderator. I don't know if that's...
Maybe.
Just trying to think of something to do.
Yeah. I need to check out what I had written out, because I really like the idea of a formal debate, like having us each present points.
Yeah.
And then
I need to watch it one more time. So when do you want to do this?
Well, Keystone Art's doing their screening of it like October 4th, or it might actually be the weekend of Shocktober in Irvington. Mid-October, let's say. And I'll throw it up. It'll be like one of the last posts we have for October. Probably.
We can plan it out in the pod chat.
Yeah, we can do that.
So you can go.
Yeah.
All right.
I know you want to get out of here. All right.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Lates.
Later, salamanje.
Cool.